A notorious summertime pattern called the Ring of Fire pattern is coming to the United States over the next 2 weeks, and this will provide the threat for a major heat wave building with record high temperatures, significant severe weather events, and even some areas that get into drought as well. We're going to be highlighting that in this forecast and looking at your tropical weather update at the very end as well. So if you are here, make sure to subscribe to the channel as we do daily accurate and reliable and straightforward weather forecast for you here on the channel, covering southern Canada, the United States, and the tropics. Like the video. If you do throughout, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Share with a friend, family member, and on social media. Definitely appreciate that as well. Looking here at the cold front that has been leaving some cooler air in its wake across the upper Midwest. We're seeing some comfortable highs today, ranging from the mid 60s to the mid 70s up here across parts of the Dakotas, for example. Nebraska cooling off, Kansas and Missouri, up here into northern Illinois, much of the upper Midwestern areas of Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin, even into Michigan here, seeing some cooler air. Now, ahead of that cold front, we are actually seeing more summer-like heat back here into Texas, along much of the Gulf Coast and up the eastern seaboard with those 80s and those 90s. And obviously, as you factor in the humidity, the heat indexes will be much higher. So that is fueling some thunderstorms today out ahead of the main cold front. There's a slight risk up into northern and western Maine, northern New Hampshire, northern Vermont, and upstate New York. That's where scattered severe thunderstorms will be possible throughout the afternoon and the evening. In the dark green, infecting millions of people, New York City, Philly, all the way down to Baltimore, Washington, D.C., stretching over here toward Lexington, Kentucky, St. Louis, back to Amarillo. We have a dark green area. That's a marginal risk. That's a 1 out of 5 on the risk scale, where isolated severe thunderstorms will be possible. We have another marginal and slight risk with isolated to scattered severe weather from Montana into the central Dakotas today as well. And the main threats will be for damaging winds in excess of 60 miles per hour. That is enough to bring down some tree branches, maybe uproot some smaller trees out there, and bring about some power outages. So make sure you are ready for the potential there. And the threat for hail. Now, the hail greatest threat is going to be in northern and eastern Montana into the western Dakotas, where quarter-size hail will be possible this afternoon and evening. And there is a localized tornado threat up there into northern and western Maine, northern New Hampshire, northern Vermont, and upstate New York. In the green, that's a 2% chance of tornadoes within a 25-mile radius of any given point in or around that area. So as we go here into the eastern U.S. here at noon, we are seeing some isolated thunderstorms popping up across western and upstate New York. Near the low pressure system in Quebec, Canada, is where the more widespread showers and thunderstorms are here at noon. As we go into the mid and late afternoon hours, peak daytime heating, we're going to have spokes of energy from that low pressure system developing across much of the Northeast, Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, and upstate New York. This could lead to the threat for damaging winds, some hail, and even an isolated tornado cannot be ruled out, in addition to some locally heavy downpours. Additional scattered thunderstorm development will be possible down here along the front, into the mid-Atlantic, into the Ohio River Valley region in the mid-south. That could promote, again, the threat for isolated severe weather with some stronger winds, some hail, and a very low tornado risk, in addition to heavy rainfall there as well. Going into the central United States here at noon, we got a couple thunderstorms roaming the landscape from southwestern Missouri into northeastern Oklahoma. Those will continue to peter out as they push further to the east. We'll have additional development from the Texas Panhandle through portions of northern Oklahoma, southern Kansas, into southern Missouri and Illinois as we go into the afternoon and evening. And again, it'll be on an isolated and widely scattered basis. So not everybody will see these, but a couple stronger storms will be possible with winds, hail, and an isolated tornado threat. Going into the western United States at noon, up into southern Alberta, Canada, we got some showers and rumbles of thunder. Very dry in the western U.S. here at noontime. That will change into the afternoon and evening as we start to see monsoonal flow overspreading much of the Rockies and the Four Corners region of Utah, Colorado, northern Arizona, much of New Mexico here, as you typically see this time of year. Locally heavy downpours will rule the roost down here, but there could be a couple isolated gustier winds, 40, 50 miles an hour, some smaller hail too, that we may have to contend with going to the evening. And as clockwork, the sun sets, we're going to see that the coverage and intensity start to drift as we go into Friday morning. Speaking of Friday, on July 18th, we have another marginal risk of severe weather from Nebraska, southeastern South Dakota through southern Minnesota into the Hawkeye state of Iowa. That's a 1 out of 5 on the risk scale, where isolated strong to severe thunderstorms will be possible. And then as we go over here into the mid-Atlantic, we're talking eastern West Virginia, central and eastern Virginia, and the very far northeastern reaches of North Carolina. We have an isolated threat for severe weather as well with the marginal risk. Then going into Saturday, July 19th, opening stages of the weekend, and right now a broad brushed area again of a 1 out of 5 marginal risk in dark green, where isolated severe thunderstorms will be possible. Upgrades, especially for Friday into Saturday, will be possible here across the Midwest with what I'm seeing, because we're going to have a boundary sitting down here into the mid-Mississippi Valley Friday morning around 7 a.m., and it's going to be drifting slowly northward throughout the day. And as it does, south of that boundary, we're going to have a lot of daytime heating and a lot of moisture pooling along that boundary, and that's going to lead to higher storm energy values, or what we call instability, over 3,000 joules per kilogram by mid-afternoon on Friday, and that could actually lead to the threat for significant severe weather later in the day. So 7 a.m. here on Friday, we're going to be seeing some showers and storms with a disturbance into the central and eastern Dakotas, northern Minnesota Friday morning, and then as we go throughout the day, we're going to see a complex of storms begin to gather by evening time into the Minneapolis-St. Paul area and then further south. So Rochester, Minnesota, Sioux Falls, back toward Lincoln, Nebraska. That could provide the threat for damaging winds, hail, and an isolated tornado. And then as we go through the early morning hours on Saturday, some of this could train over the same areas too, and that could lead to an increased risk of flash flooding for the Chicagoland, Rockford, Davenport, back into Ottumwa, Iowa. Be keeping a very close eye on that. Flash flooding is definitely going to be a possibility with the high moisture content that the environment will be characterized by here for the Iowa, southern portions of Minnesota into northern Illinois, southern Wisconsin, perhaps eastern portions of Nebraska, Friday night and into Saturday morning, where there could be some areas, pockets here of 1 to 3 inches worth of rainfall. And again, this is over a 12-hour span, so there could be some localized runoff from that, especially in bigger cities where you have a lot of asphalt and stuff like that. Now, we got a big ridge of high pressure building across the south central United States as we round out the weekend on Sunday, July 20th, and that will take us through much of next week and really much of late July, and that is going to provide that ring of fire pattern, and we're going to be seeing temperatures that are going to be well above normal across portions of the central U.S., in fact, 15, 20 degrees above normal at times between Sunday, July 20th and the following Sunday, July 27th, and that could provide daily high temperatures well into the 90s and triple digits here for the central southern plains especially, and the lower Mississippi Valley. Now, there will be some very hot days as well up into the Midwest, don't get me wrong, because of the corn crops, right? In late July, the corn crop is most mature, and it's giving off what we call evapotranspiration. It's its own moisture, corn sweat, and that is going to lead to higher dew point temperatures in the 70s and 80s daily up across portions of the Midwest, making it feel very uncomfortable, very moist outside, and that will actually be a direct correlation to our heat index, as those heat index values will soar daily into the Midwest, perhaps over 105 at times, especially during the middle portion of next week. Now, why we call it the ring of fire pattern is because it's going up and over clockwise around that ridge of high pressure, the ring of fire. And you can see the jet stream is very strong with daily chances for those disturbances rounding that ridge, and that could provide a lot of storm energy as well. Underneath of that ridge of high pressure, we got a lot of heat and humidity building, and that means a lot of storm energy daily building as well. So those thunderstorm complexes are what you call northwest flow, from the northwest to the southeast, starting up here into the northern plains, dropping into the Midwest, the Great Lakes, and the Ohio Valley. We could start to see those daily, every 24 or 48 hours, those what we call MCSs, those mesoscale convective systems, just fancy for a line of storms that could bring severe weather and localized flash flooding risks. Watching that for big cities like up here into Bismarck, Fargo, into the Minneapolis area, La Crosse, Des Moines, all the way over into Madison and Milwaukee, Chicago and Peoria, Indianapolis, over into Detroit, Dayton and Columbus, into the Cincinnati and Louisville areas, and Lexington. A lot of those big cities that you speak of up here to the north could be impacted by that as well. And one or two derechos could result. And a derecho is a fast-moving complex of storms typically associated with hurricane force winds of 75 miles per hour or greater over a long distance. In most extreme cases, derechos could produce wind damage of over 100 miles per hour, again, such as the eastern Iowa derecho back in August 2020, and Cedar Rapids had a widespread straight-line winds without tornadoes of 120 miles an hour, flattening corn, knocking over silos and barns. It was a very big mess there. And underneath the ridge, though, we're going to be seeing drier weather. So it's going to be bone dry, but it's going to be very hot as we go into next week. Let's look at the long range, because as we go into the final few days of July beyond the 27th and going into the first few days of August through the 4th or 5th, that ridge that's in the southeast will start to retrograde a little bit further west into the southern plains and the desert southwest, and that will actually crank up the heat a little bit further west into the plains and eventually the eastern Rockies as well, and that will place the northwest flow still up here into the northern plains, upper Midwest, and into the southwest Great Lakes. And this could lead to, again, those MCSs, the mesoscale convective systems, or those lines of storms that produces those damaging winds, large hail, and some very heavy rainfall, and of course frequent lightning with all the storm energy that we do have as we even go into the first week of August. Turning over to the tropical weather update, we are looking at decreased odds to a 30% chance now. So it's 40% yesterday, 30% now today. Low pressure near New Orleans, and it's running out of time for development, and this looks to be more of a rain system. We've thought this all along, and that continues to be the case across the Gulf Coast regions here as we go through the next 24 hours. Thankfully, the East Pacific Basin is very quiet. The National Hurricane Center in Miami, Florida is not actually expecting anything over the next 7 days, the next week over here. And what has been an active start in the East Pacific Ocean is taking a little bit of a respite right now, so that is some great news. But again, we're keeping an eye on the Atlantic right now, just a rain system over there. Thank you all for watching. If you do enjoy these straightforward, accurate, and reliable weather forecasts daily on this channel, yes, we do daily, so make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it throughout, share it with a friend, family member on social media. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, jot that down in the comment section down below this video. We are here all day, all night, 24/7 to answer any and all questions that you may have, so jot that down in the comment section down below if you do have them. Thank you all for watching. Thanks for the support, everybody, and I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their Thursday out there.